things about trading Forex is that you don't actually know exactly which trade is going to be a crazy winner or just another loss.
What's up, everybody? We are currently live.
We'll take away the weekly.
Trace back down to order book. Evidence that price is going to be bullish.
Point sort of chasing the market. I was more than happy to stay flat.
Hello everyone. What's a kangaroo toe?
Always recommend trading on the 5 minute.
Some of these exotic pairs in pretty steady uptrend, making these higher highs and higher.
Mostly trend following.
The stimulus in a certain way.
Morning, afternoon, evening. Hope you're all well wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to the Monday stream. Thanks for, I'm about to say RT Trading, A1 Trading for having me back. Who's in the room? Dawn, how you doing? Oh God, it's difficult to pronounce that name. Omfametsi. Good to see you. Anyone else who's watching, come and say hi. It's always nice if these streams are interactive. Now I want to start, Kalechi, how you doing? I want to start by going through this. I'll do the dollar. I'll do the S&P in a bit, but I want to start with this USD Swiss trade. Keenan, how you doing? Gaming D, good to see you. Kalechi, Kalechi, how are you? Looks like Nick didn't have a stream today. I don't know, mate. I'm not really too sure. I'm a personal stream of 5, and I just come straight on here. So this is my 4th stream. I have 4 streams on a Monday. Anyway, let's talk about this USD Swiss because I think it's interesting and a kind of good little bit of a learning curve or a good little bit of a learning thing for people who don't know how I trade. So we look at this morning. I had this on my watch list this morning, bearing in mind I do my my scan probably about 10 hours ago. So about 9 a.m. UAE time. It's now 6 o'clock in Dubai. Anyway, let's talk about this setup. So I'm a bottom-up trader, which means I look for the setup first, and then I go to my higher time frames for confluence. So in USD Swiss, this section here is really nice. You can see a V reversal, and this V reversal, which I'll go into a second, is going with trend or going against trend, which is what I like to see. What about DXY? Yeah, I'll look at DXY gaming in a second. I'll just go through this USD Swiss first. So we've got our V reversal. Tag this area again. Now notice my area, right? Some people use the wick, some people use the closures. For me, I just look for the most respected area. So even though we had some volatility here, we can see that the closures here, the wick area here, and the closures here. So this for me was the most respected level. So we got our V reversal and we got our complex corrective. So we got our ABC here. Now notice on C wave, stops here. Right, we're likely getting from this impulse, we're likely to have stops at this location at A wave. Stops were taken out, great. Push on into a slight volatility contraction, wedging structure, push on above these moving averages. So V reversal, ABC, push on, make that trend healthier by having that slight volatility contraction and push on. Once we did push on, a few bars here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, underneath that area, before this happened. Right now, I don't take the breakouts on the 30-minute. I wasn't in this trade, but I'm here to kind of help you guys. If you particularly like to take the breakouts on these smaller time frames, you like my setup, then it's something that you can do. It's just not something that I personally can do. However, we look at this. This is really nice. V reversal against trend. Complex corrective. Stops taken out. Push through these moving averages. Right? And we're not pushing through C wave straight above the level. That's not what we want to see. So we push through, a little bit of rangy price action here above these moving averages, and again, accumulation prior to that level. When we break through, notice an uptick in volume as we are breaking through this area. So this is really nice. Again, before we know this has happened, right, so let's say this, we can't see this. We look at our hourly chart, same thing, above these moving averages. A morning star on C wave, Few bars here of accumulation prior to a breakthrough. We look at our daily. Now, I like this on a daily as a breakout retest, but we look at our daily. This context, again, is really good. V reversal followed by a cup with handle, volatility contraction, back to that 20, breakthrough. Now, I'm looking for this USD Swiss to potentially turn into an ABC for a trade for me to take to the upside. All right, so looking for A, B, C. However, in the morning, because this is a daily chart, your confluence comes with a few wicks on that support zone. So you could say that the retest has occurred. Remember, we don't know what's happened in the future, and this looks to be moving to the upside. So as a breakout, I think this is a really good example of what I like to see. So if this was a 4-hour chart, ideally you'd get the 20 period a little bit close by, but irrespective of what's happening now, that would have been a winning trade, right? Stops roughly there. You could have a tighter stop here and take some profits, certainly as you go up, take some money off the table because this can happen. The USD Swiss is a good example there of what I like to see. So I'm looking for this on a daily chart, and possibly we're getting it now. ABC, a continuation to the upside because of this context. This is what I like that personally. So USD Swiss potential longs. Hello, Dot. Are you speaking together? So, okay, let's look at the index and the DXY. We'll go into the DXY first because somebody asked me about that. Actually, before I get into this, I've seen a lot on my Instagram today. I don't know whether you're the same. Maybe this is just coincidence about trading robots, AI, algos, etc. Does anybody here use them? Now, I've never used them. I want to test one out personally. I've never used them. My opinion is I wouldn't trust them, but that's an uneducated opinion because I've never used them. I just worry if I put my whole account balance into an AI or an algo robot, let's just call them robots, if they'll work over the long run. So let me know if any of you guys actually use them and if they work or if you recommend one, because I kind of want to test one out. For me, I wouldn't trust them, basically. It's like Tesla on autopilot, right? You're always going to be a little bit worried. Bots are useless. Yeah, I agree. Nope, I wouldn't want a robot to do something I like doing. Yeah, exactly. I think I don't think retail robots would ever work. Okay, that's also a big distinction. Retail and potentially hedge fund, prop firms, AI, maybe they're slightly different. But certainly retail AI, I think there's a big kind of trend right now for marketing purposes that say, oh, we've got this new robot, this new AI that's working. Whether that's true or not, whether it's just a marketing ploy for people to buy these robots and trade off them, I just can't see how. I would like to see the difference between their performance and, let's say, my performance over a year's period, or even over 2 years, three years period. I just think it would be interesting. But anyway, this is what I noticed today. A whole bunch of trading robots came up on my Instagram. I was just about to ask about the difference between retail robots and big money AI tools. I think there is a difference, Keenan. I can't say for real because I'm not in that world, but I presume there would be, to be honest with you. Denise, I like to have control of what I'm doing. Yeah, I agree. I like trading. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. I just wouldn't trust that. Potentially, if I've got 200,000 in funded equity, am I really going to trust that happens on one potential day? Maybe something goes wrong and you lose everything. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe test it with like 5% equity or something like that, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Try it on a demo account first, yeah. But you'd have to try on a demo account for at least a year, I think, because I would just be scared of that one day, something going wrong, Anyway, I just thought I'd ask you guys. Maybe somebody has more experience than me. But for me, it just seems to be a big fad nowadays. The marketing guys, the Instagram traders, as I like to call them, Instagram fake gurus seem to be pushing these AIs out now to, I think, grab a little bit of money. Big boys are using AI for analysis. Yeah. Hey, Alan, how you doing, mate? Yeah, imagine if a robot made an error and blew your account. Yeah, exactly. I'd be livid. I'd go and find whoever sold it to me, and I would do some horrible things to them, put it that way. Anyway, let's get into the DXY. Let's do proper trading, right? Proper manual trading and look at it with our eyes. That's way more fun. But DXY looks good to me. You know, we had this breakthrough of this area. If we look at the smaller time frames, right, this actually looks not too bad. You get an impulse here. I know we've come from this movement, right, which is a little bit messy after that news events came out. At this point, it looked like a corrective, but it changed sentiment on this impulse. After this impulse, nice little corrective, push through that area. Now we're deciding what we're doing. So are we going to fail from this area? Are we going to get price acceptance above it? This 30-minute, which closes, has still got about 20 minutes to close. If it closes as a hammer, might not look too bad. I think the best place to look at this DXY would be the 4-hour chart. So this looks a little bit easier to read. Potentially a head and shoulders here. Move up to this area. We expect a bit of resistance from this area. We expect a little bit of reaction. If we can get some accumulation, 20-period catch-up prior to this area, and we break and close above this area, this might look good for upward movement. My bias for the dollar is bullishness. I'm a dollar bull right now. Waiting for that confirmation, again, waiting for that 20-period catch-up, waiting for that break and close above would be a good indication for me. The daily looks great. You know, where the market has been giving us signals that it might want to pull this dollar to the downside with this hammer bar and with this engulfing bar. But it's being resilient, isn't it? So we've had this big bearish engulfer. We've not had no follow through. We've had this hammer, no follow through. So as a structure as a whole, I've talked about this a little bit. This structure here, coming back from March this year, is potentially indicating maybe dollar looks good for the last quarter of the year. Now, for me to be able to take a trade on this, and it is a potential setup for me, I would need that 20-period catch-up, right? The 20-period catch-up that I love, some accumulation underneath this level, ideally on lowering volume, before taking a break to the upside on that DXY. I like it. DXY buy, yeah, I agree with you, Gimme. I do agree with you. I think it looks pretty good to the upside. I just think it needs a little bit more. For me, personally, as a trade, you know, I use this 20 period as a visual guide to get into trades at the right time, you know, pullbacks at the right time. And I just need a little bit more here from a trading perspective. Now, if we have this week, let's say this week we get a few bars underneath this level, and I don't take it as a trade, but it still does break and close above, that's okay, right? I'm still using that as my dollar analysis, and I think that looks pretty good. So I like the DXY to the upside, to be honest with you. What do you guys think? Is it any dollar? Who's a dollar bull and who's a dollar bear? For me, it could be a potentially decent longer-term trade. SPX slightly wobbling, but maybe we're going back to that pre-COVID where stocks pushing, dollar pushes. Post-COVID, stocks push, dollar falls, acting as that kind of flight to cash safe haven asset. But for me, dollar looks decent. Might be a decent longer-term play. Bull, Nick, dollar bull, I agree with you as well. What is the best platform for a demo account? Best platform from a demo account. I mean, in terms of a brokerage, I like IC Markets, but most of your regulated brokers will allow you to set up a demo account. I think a lot of them are decent for a demo. If the dollar breaks above, what USD pair would be in my mind? It depends. It depends on what the SPX is doing. So if the dollar breaks above and the SPX is moving, I wouldn't mind USD yen, USD Swiss. If the SPX breaks to the downside and the dollar looks bullish, you know, you look at selling the Aussie CAD and the New Zealand, right? So that for me would be my bias. Now, the SPX again is an interesting position because the daily chart, maybe we are retesting this trend line, you know, rejecting that 20. We got a valid trend line here. So the idea of bearishness in the SPX is breakout, retest of the trend line, and continuation to the downside. Now, that's not my bias. I don't think that's going to happen because I'm looking at this mainly. The 4-hour chart is like my baby. I love the 4-hour chart. I think is the best place to start for your higher time frame confluence. Dollar is the key. Yeah, exactly. But what I worry about here, we've had an impulse, and you guys have watched me a few times, know my loss of momentum. So it goes impulse, loss of momentum, harder reset. Whether we get that now, it's yet to be seen. Normally with this loss of momentum, which we may be getting here, you want to see 3 legs, right? Which means we've got 1 leg here, we need another leg here, and then we need another leg to kind of confirm that potential loss of momentum. Now, if you're watching this and you're new, you don't know what loss of momentum is, you can kind of see it on a chart here, but it's essentially lots of effort from buyers or sellers with getting very little reward. So it's kind of pattern that looks like this, right? Coming from an impulse, ideally. And I'll show you a prime example of this. I can show you this on the US, on this SPX actually, which I've shown a few times before, but it's just the easiest example for me to take is here. So we've had our impulse, loss of momentum, harder reset. Now, sometimes this harder reset comes in form of the ABC. So we've got A wave here, A, B, C, move to the upside. So it's kind of like just a refresh of a trend. So maybe we're getting something like this on the DXY right now, but it's yet to be confirmed. So until we break above this area, I'm not going to go full-blown risk on. So risk on being you buy those commodities against the risk-off currencies. It's in a little bit of a precarious position. Not that I think it's going to go down. I just think possibly it needs to reset a little bit, possibly coming up here, giving us some accumulation prior to breaking through. But, you know, now it's just not very nice. It's just not very nice. So we could get some buyers coming in at this support area. Maybe we range for a bit, but I think the real confirmation for the SPX is a break and close above this area. We got a reaction here, so we know we've got sellers coming in. We could from this impulse, put a fib on from the latest impulse. We could come down to that 40-60 box before continuation to the upside. So if we do get that loss of momentum followed by a harder reset, that would be nice for me, but we'll have to wait and see how price action does in the meantime. So I am an SPX bull. You have to be, but there's some mixed messages there, so maybe it'd be quite difficult to predict. Thoughts on GJ? Yeah, I'll go into GJ. I'll just go into what I'm looking at. So I talked about USD Swiss. I like Bitcoin shorts, which I've not had Bitcoin on my watch list for ages, but I'm looking at this on this daily chart. So again, what I just talked about, the opposite of being a Bitcoin seller or a Bitcoin bear is we're doing the exact same thing that I just talked about. Impulse, loss of momentum, harder reset. So that's the Bitcoin bullish scenario. However, what I'm looking for is a potential head and shoulders here. So we've got head and shoulders. We got a break below this support area, break on a little bit of volume. And again, we're getting into a possible ABC retest. So if I zoom in on that, you can see A leg here, B wave here. What I'd ideally like to see is we are underneath these moving averages. If we get a daily catalyst, something like this, a hammer bar is kind of my favorite. You think stops are here, taking those stops out, again, rejecting this attempt by the bulls to break above this resistance area, and then the sellers taking control on a bit of higher volume. That would be decent for me to take Bitcoin to the downside. Again, the only worry is we have come from this section here. Are we getting that impulse, loss of momentum, harder reset before moving to the upside? But I think if we get that catalyst, engulfer, morning star, evening star, sorry, hammer bar on a bit of volume, and ideally as this pattern progresses, we're relatively getting lowering volume during this retest, just an idea that it wants to fall would be a decent move. And I kind of like that. You know, we have got some big bearish bars here, so we have to take that into account as well. So Bitcoin potential shorts I'm looking at. Let me know if you guys want me to look at anything. I've just got 2 more on my watch list. USD SEC is another one. Now, this one, again, is another one trade that I do really like. I think I talked about this last week from this structure here. A larger cut with handle basing structure followed by, again, our ABC here. But this is not only an ABC, it's an ABC 1-2. So we've got ABC 1-2, push on, right? So this is kind of textbooks for me. In terms of breakouts, I can take breakouts from this B wave. So I'm looking for this 20-period catch-up on this 4-hour chart to able to take this breakout to the upside. So we got our basing V, basing cup. I just need that 20-period catch-up to be able to take this as a breakout to the upside on B wave. If we don't get that here, then I can look for a setup around these highs as well. But ideally, you know, I do want this trade. I like this context. You know, I really like this ABC 1-2. Big push through. Just give me some accumulation, please. Give me some 20-period catch-up to take that to the upside on USD SEC. Confluence with our kind of dollar bullishness, right? So that is a nice trade. And with these exotics, you get on the right side of them, they can really go, they can really move. So USD SEC potential longs. The other one I had was EA. So I'll do EA and then I'll do your guys' ideas. So EA is another one that I like. Higher time frame confluence. Got our V reversal. V reversal. That looks like a stereotypical channel corrective. And now we're breaking through to the downside, breaking potentially underneath this 20. Very simple price action. Okay. So that looks good on the daily. On this 4-hour, you can see that a little bit clearer. I'll just get a better angle. Here we go. So we can see that move to the downside. We can see this nice channel corrective it was in, breaking out of it now. I'm looking at this from this section here. So a change in trend anchor. Cut with handle, V reversal. It's almost ready. It's almost ready for me. I don't want this to break now. If it does, I can look for a breakout retest. But I want a few bars here of accumulation, very similar to this. Again, get that squeeze into the area to take EA to the downside into your stops up here or wherever the latest anchor is. I just worry that this may break. But again, if it does break, then I can look for the breakout retest. I just need a few bars. So all those setups, USD Swiss longs I like, Bitcoin shorts I like, USD SEC I really like, and EA I really like. They just have to set up. So I don't want to get FOMO. I've not done gold yet. I'll do gold. I think A1 Trading, I do a gold weekly outlook. So A1 Trading will release that, I think, tonight or in a couple of hours. So you can look at that for a bit more detailed analysis on gold. What was I saying? I just lost my chain of thought. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for that real setup. Now, remember, we don't want to get FOMO. We have to stick to our plan. And me taking a breakout on this candle, even though it looks bearish, right? Daily looks good, would be a bad trade because it doesn't fit my criteria. So whatever happens, I've got to stick to my strategy because my strategy is the one that has the edge. You know, my mind certainly doesn't have the edge. My strategy does. When I try and force things or do things out with that, that's when the problems occur. So I like all them. Okay, let's go through yours. Gold. Okay, I'll do quickly. I'll do gold. But keep an eye for that A1 Trading report because I go through it in a bit more detail. However, gold for me looks decent to the downside. We think about where we are in the DXY and that inverse correlation between gold and the US dollar normally. If we're getting a accumulation or reaction at that DXY, you'd expect maybe this is why we're in a gold corrective channel. We've had our evening star here on that 20, but not only that, we've got our evening star on increasing volume. So that as a catalyst is not too bad. And this also, if we look at this, what I said last week on that video was look for a pullback entry into gold. And that was your kind of catalyst on this candle here. But I wouldn't have taken this break. Okay, I don't like breaks. This is exactly the reason why I don't like breaks that are extended into a level, because you can get caught in price action like this, where you're a little bit worried if it's going to change trend and stop you out. Right, so this, on that 4-hour closure here, it didn't look too bad. We've had a little bit of bullishness here, but waiting for probably a breakout of this structure is your best bet. Ideally, because the path of least resistance is the downside, you're waiting for a break and close underneath this support area to kind of confirm, because you've got a few different things on your side there. You've got the trend on your side, right? You've got a nice healthy intraday trend on your side, and you've got that break and close below. So I wouldn't be doing anything with it right now. I would just be waiting for that confirmation. But it actually looks this price action looks nice, you know, and it could be ready to move to the downside again. So I'd wait for that confirmation for potentially selling gold. That has to be your bias. I don't see anything on this chart that tells me to buy gold. I mean, does anyone else have a different view? Potentially, you're looking at this hammer here on the smaller time frames, but I think we're just continuing in this structure until we're not. So for me, my bias is to go with that trend and look for shorts. Again, your other side is potentially this, but you need some bullish action and a breakout of this structure to think about buying gold. In my personal opinion, I just think going with that bias, going with that trend makes more sense. You know, we've broken underneath this level. We're getting price acceptance potentially underneath this level. Yeah, go with that trend on gold personally. You do that 100 times, you'll probably make more money than going against it. Put it that way. Certainly with gold. Thoughts on pound dollar? Okay, I'll do pound dollar, I'll do Kiwi dollar, pound CAD, and I'll do pound CAD in GU. What did I just say? Pound, GJ. Sorry, I'll do GJ first. GJ looks decent for longs. I mean, it's not something that I particularly like, again, because you have to think. You think about the rule that markets trend 30% of the time and markets range 70, right? So this for me is a kind of trend. Would I be buying GJ here? No, I'll be waiting for a better entry. I think it looks good to the upside. Potentially is a longer term play coming from here. Right? Very similar to CAD Swiss and a few different pairs. Triple bottom. What do you think? Pushing on, closure above this structure. As a longer term play looks good. From a shorter term perspective, I wouldn't be buying GJ here. I'd be waiting for either a pullback, 20 period catch up, some digestion, because if you buy it here, you may be caught in that pullback or you may be waiting around for quite some time. So GJ, I'm bullish on. Certainly if those stocks push, but you just got to wait for a better entry. You've got to accept that this move is potentially over. I'm not saying this can't rise. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but from my perspective, I would be waiting on buying that, to be honest, on GJ. I like the bias of GJ longs. GJ GU is slightly different. DU, you could be in for, maybe we're getting something like this, head and shoulders from this move to the downside. Bias, being a dollar bull, bias has got to be to the downside, knowing the DXY. We're just in this, right? So kind of similar to gold, you're waiting for that confirmation. If you get maybe a larger complex corrective, potentially entry in here for continuation. We look from that latest impulse, or you take it from the top of that impulse here, roughly around that 38.2. You could get a pullback to that 50 and 200. Stops taken out here. Give us our standard ABC to continue to the downside. For me, I'd be looking short. I'd just be looking for a reason to enter it, to be honest with you, on GU. But we've got to, I think the best thing to do is go with that trend. The trend is your friend. Kiwi dollar for Alan. Hope you're well, Alan. Good to see you. Kiwi dollar. So I'm just looking at these for the first time. So give me a second to kind of process what I'm seeing, just to give you a better analysis. Well, initially off the bat, you're looking at a V reversal. So V reversal, we're below these moving averages. I wouldn't be taking a breakout here just yet, right? I don't like we've had a slight fake to the downside, right? Push on, V reversal. You're waiting for a little bit more to digest this move. So what I usually say to people is, think about the rule of 50%. So we want a kind of 50% digestion from this move, right? Something like this to make it a little bit healthier to move to the downside. So my bias, again, very similar. I like it short. I just need a little bit more. I would just want to wait for a little bit more. And the good thing about selling this Kiwi dollar, depending on what happens with the SPX, if the SPX rises, get that risk on nature, yeah, you could see the Kiwi gain some strength. And that's what you'd expect with people being a bit more confident, those commodity currencies to gain some strength. However, if we get a break underneath this big bullish engulfer, sometimes you see a decent sell-off in these pairs. So I think Kiwi dollar looks good to the downside, just not yet. Pound CAD short for Denise. Pound CAD short. Yeah. I don't like it. Right? I don't like this, but you're going with that. You're kind of getting a slight pullback. It's just this is not bad price action in terms of bullishness, right? Decent hammer, big engulfer, getting a reaction around that 20. Path of least resistance is to the downside. But I'll be honest with you, the chart's not very nice. But yeah, I mean, if you look at this on smaller time frames, that's not a bad indication this wants to fall. We have had a hammer here, but from this move, is that just a pullback continue? Although we've had some decent price action here, could be your indication that this wants to continue to fall. I don't think the chart's very nice, Denise, to be completely honest with you. But I can see your bias. I can see your bias for the downside movement. You've closed underneath. There's 200 on the daily. Maybe the moves happened. We look at this as a potential rangy pair. Who just said that? Woodward, notoriously rangy. Yeah, exactly. Notoriously, I think it's a horrible pair to trade. For me, personally, I hate the CAD. Oh, I don't hate the CAD. I don't like trading the CAD. I think it's my worst kind of pair to trade. I just have this thing against it that I just don't like it. And maybe I'm just need to get it out of my mind, but I think it's certainly my least favorite pair to trade. So, I mean, maybe the moves happened, Denise, but possibly on smaller time frames, you could be right. Maybe this ends up continuing in this range. Personally, in my personal opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm not always right, but that's just my bias. Gold, I've done. GU, I've done, I think. Keenan, nice one. No problem, mate. Euro USD selling. Yeah, that would make sense. Euro USD's to the downside. By the way, guys, if you're watching this, make sure you're hitting that like button if you're getting some value. How many people's in here? 50 people. Let's try get at least 30 likes. Come on. Help A1. Helps the channel A1 trading out. I appreciate it. If it helps you, hit that like button. EU looks nice to the downside. Again, very simple price action here. Maybe we need a little bit of corrective before moving down, which again, in terms of the DXY, would make sense, right? Because we're trying to get that 20-period catch-up for the DXY accumulation. So maybe we get the same thing on Euro USD. My bias is certainly to the downside. I like that on the daily. Big view reversal. This looks not too bad on smaller time frames. Yeah, EU selling makes sense to me. Who asked for that? Mind. Euro USD set short to 16,980. 16,980. So where are you looking? 16,990, 16,980. Oh, you're looking. Oh, in terms of a smaller time frame, then yeah. Have you got the right thing there? 16,980. Am I being stupid? 16,980. Because it's not got far to go then. 1.169. Are you talking about there? You can't be talking about there, right? I mean, yeah. If you're selling it to there, I think you've got that price wrong. But if you're selling to there, yeah, that would make sense. I would agree with that. Cameroon AU. GC's notorious Aussie CAD. Okay, I'll do Aussie CAD because people ask me for Aussie CAD, and then I'll be done. Clear explanation, love it. Oh, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Aussie CAD. I'll do Aussie CAD, and then I'll be done for the day because it's my dinner time here in Dubai. You can take the dogs for a walk. Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD. I presume you're looking to the downside. Now, maybe you're getting my favorite ABC. Stops here. Thank you for the stops, brokers. This is a decent hammer bar here on a little bit of volume. What we like to see coming from a downtrend. Yeah, that looks all right. roughly as well at this resistance area. Buyers trying to push it through. Yeah, I mean, that looks okay. You want confirmation, right? If you're looking for confirmation, a break underneath B wave would be added confirmation for me. But you could get an aggressive entry in there. Now, I'm not going to trade it. I'm not trading it. Just so you're. Sorry, I'm reading through. You must have a short limit. Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I wouldn't be putting a short limit there. I would wait for a bit more of a confirmation, a break below the lows for EU, to be honest with you. Yeah, Aussie CAD looks good. Aussie CAD looks not bad to the downside. There is a little bit of a, this bar here is a little bit worrisome. Not a bad bullish signal, but you're going with that trend, move corrective. This is nice. That's a nice trend there, isn't it? So yeah, I agree with that bias. Maybe it needs a little bit more potentially, but looks pretty good on small time frames. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I'll just go through that I'll go through that EU just so I'm clear, and then I'll be off. So EU, yeah, if that is your short limit, I get what you're saying. You're maybe saying you want to sell a sell stop there underneath this level, but for me, I wouldn't be doing that personally. If you're looking to short it and you want to get added confirmation the breakout, for me it would be there or obviously underneath the structure. If you want more of aggressive entry, it'd probably be there. Potentially, if you get a big indication or a big catalyst here, you'd sell it by the market, put your stops on there above that structure there. But yeah, if you are looking to sell it, I see what you're saying, but I think that's a better entry below B wave here, personally. All right, guys, I'll be done for today. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for all the likes, 31 likes, good people, well done. If you want to follow me, those are my channels. And I won't be on. I'm usually on Monday, Thursday, but I'm just going to be on Mondays from now on. So hopefully I'll see you all back next Monday.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to today's stream. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to follow today's guest, by the way, on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to A1 Trading here on YouTube for more market coverage, trade ideas, and special guests. Our streams are made possible thanks to our sponsors, all of which can be found down below in the description. If you're looking for a new broker, consider checking out the links down below. We've partnered with a few brokers that we think you should check out. By signing up with one of these brokers, our company will receive a small affiliate commission, which does help us stay here on the air creating free stuff for you guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you back in the next one.